You'll notice that in your kit it has one of these mesh bottoms. The gardening store where we bought these from, they recommended not using them just because they've had mildew and fungus gnats grow in them. So maybe just keep this in your box. So we're just going to take it out. Okay, there is a blue piece of film that goes here. We already peeled it off, but just ensure that you do that prior to assembling. And now Elizabeth and I are going to assemble it for you. So the first step is to take this curved upper piece and put it upside down. You can see it rocking. And then we want to flip it so it's right side up. And then there's some screws over here. So Elizabeth is going to put them on the top, and you can tell it's the top because there's the logo here. And then we're going to flip it over. Being careful not to have the screws fall out. So Elizabeth had put our hand on them to ensure that they didn't. Okay, great. Now there's these little brackets. So we're going to put those on the screws. Now this is going to be a little bit finicky just because they are small. So yeah, and then we'll fasten it together using the nuts. It's easier to do it one at a time. The manual that is provided, I wouldn't say it's the best. It doesn't really have labels for all of the different parts, but as long as you're watching this video, it should be able to do the trick for you. Okay, and you want to make sure that these brackets are in line with each other, because next we are going to snap the light bulb bracket into it. So we'll do one end first. It helps if you have someone hold it down, the lid. It's a bit scary to do, but just go slow. It's coming undone. We have these with us. If you have other tools, you might want to use them. This is partially handmade. And you'll hear the snap when it's snapped in. That. Elizabeth's realigning the bracket, and if you do get the brackets stuck on this, you can try to use your fingers. It's a bit hard. I just used a knife. Yeah. We're giving it another go. We're trying to snap the light bulb frame into the top cover. Snap, half. You kind of have to be a bit forceful with this. Okay, snap, snap. It's not moving. Good sign. Okay, continuing on. Now we are going to place these metal bars into the base of the unit. You'll notice these negative square spaces, so just shove them in like that. Okay, great. Now there are these brackets. You'll notice that there's a little indentation here. So see how that one has a bottom, but this one doesn't have a bottom? So the one with the bottom, put on the bottom with a nut inside of it, as such. Great, and then we'll slide that over top of one of these metal bars. so that the nut is on the outside, because ultimately these screws will go inside, and that's how you will adjust the level of the top with the light. Because when you're starting these off, the light, you basically want it to be shut, and then you want to open it for aeration so the soil doesn't get moldy, but that's how you'll adjust that. Okay, then there's these black little plastic pieces, and we're just going to pop those into the top of the metal just to give it a flushed appearance. Yeah, you can really shove these down. Okay, and then finally we can put the top or the canopy on, and you'll notice it's just going to slide down to the screw. So mine's a bit higher on this end than Elizabeth, so it would be lopsided, but they're easy to just screw and adjust. Okay, great. So as we said, this exists. I've spoken to a couple people about them. You can maybe use them for one grow, but then chuck it. So your discretion. And then you'll notice that there's this power cord. So on the bottom of the canopy where the light is, we're going to want to plug that in. Okay, it's easier if you do this before the canopy's on. Oh, I guess we can just pull it off. Yeah. Okay, so it has two holes there. When we set one of these up, we didn't quite shove this in far enough so that the light wasn't turning on, and we just shoved it in further and then it worked. So just make sure that if that happens to you, that's how you might be able to fix it. Okay, we'll put this back on now. We noticed that there's a couple extra screws and nuts in each case. We're not sure what they are for. Okay, and then finally there are these black plastic pieces, and then you can just rest your 4 different trays on top, and that way there's holes that'll allow for drainage. And there we go. Next step, we are going to put soil in. Okay, now within each of your kits we provided this Pro Mix potting mix. You might want to do this in your sink, but it has a Ziploc, which is great. Okay, so now we're just gonna, you can use a spoon, and we're just gonna take some of the soil and fill each tray up. Okay, so I'd say like 75 to 80% full. It's pretty loose, so the roots will be able to penetrate that pretty well. Out of camera. Okay, great. So now we have our 4 trays. Within your packs we have onions, so storage onions, and then we also have arugula. So the reason we chose to provide you with these is that they're 2 of the first plants which you can sow indoors to then transplant outdoors in the later months, but I'll provide you with information sheet about that. Okay, so for the onions, I have the Zoe storage onions here. It says on the back that we can start indoor from February to mid-March and then transplant into the garden in mid-April. So they're pretty black in color. Here, do you want some? So one method you can use is you can take your knife, for example. You can just make a trench here. And then you can just sprinkle them in the trench. And then kind of tuck them in so that they're covered. And give them a little pat. That works. And do yours. Or whatever. Or you can use your finger. And then if you eat popsicles, you can eat a popsicle and then save the stick, or you can use yogurt containers and cut them up and use those for your labels, or yeah, whatever works for you. It's pretty easy. Now, as for the arugula, it says to direct sow, but you can also grow it indoors. Whether or not you choose to transplant it outdoors, or you can keep it in for like microgreens, and then you can just do the cut and come again method, and then just always have fresh greens inside your house. So again, we'll make the little trench in these two. Arugula seeds look a bit different. They're lighter in color and rounder. And again, just sprinkle them in. Now once these have germinated and they begin to grow, you're going to want to thin them a bit. You can take out the smallest, most weak looking ones. And again, we're just going to tuck it back in gently. Okay. We're going to put these back in our tray because there's holes in the bottom, and then we'll water them in the tray, but that's basically it. When you start this, you're going to want the cover of your grow light right close down, and then open it up again so that there's breeze. Having it on like a 12-12 cycle on your timer would be good too. These are the timers that come with your grow kits. There's different types of timers out there, so I'm just going to quickly explain how this one works. You'll notice as there's green and red pegs. We'll only need one green and one red peg, so you can take the other ones out. To the time of day, so it's almost 1 o'clock the time I'm making this video. The white is the AM hours and the gray is the PM hours. Okay, and then when starting seedlings, they need anywhere from 12 to 18 hours, and it's said to be difficult to give them too much light or too much sun. So if you want to do it at 12 hours, for example, you could put the green peg in at 7 a.m. and then the red peg in at 7 p.m. or if you want a little bit longer light, again that 12 to 18 hour window, you could put it in a little bit later. I'm just going to do mine at 7 and 7 because it's easy for me. And then you'll plug it into your socket, and then you'll plug your grow kit into the side outlet, and then you'll notice how there's an on-off switch up here. Make sure it's on. And then by having a timer, you don't have to worry about turning the light on and off. It's going to do its own thing, and it's easier for you.